I think that we're setting up nicely for the story of this cast. Yeah, it's two of the bottom teams in Europe right now. 0-9 H2K, 2-7 Giants. Giants have gotten one win against H2K. The other win against G2 eSports. That was a very interesting game. You can debate for hours whether or not they should have won, but in the end they did. And now they want to kind of extend their lead. They want to catch up to the Unicorns of Love. They want to still be in contention for playoffs. Definitely a very challenging road to climb for them. We'll see if they can do it, starting with a game today. H2K versus Giants. A couple of standard bans. Interesting that H2K would be the team to ban away Nocturne. Typically you see those on the red side. But Talon also being taken away from Selfie. Talia still left available. Zoe, another big comfort champ. The fact that Galio has been banned away from H2K implies that they're hoping the Giants leave it open so they can look to first pick it. Giants read this and they're saying, okay, if you want to first pick Zoe, we're going to trade that for a Talia. And we're going to be pretty happy. We know that Djoko has played this jungle champion so far during the regular split, and it's a big comfort pick for him.
Yeah, it's the second time we've seen this trade happen as well. First game was Talia, and then Zoe was picked up by Unicorns. This time, looks like it's going to be the Zoe pick first. And Gragas, Talia is what you would assume, but they go Gragas Rakan instead here for Giants.
So H2K may be able to get themselves Talia plus Zoe. Which would definitely be a rather strong combo, unless they don't really see the value in it. Looking through what Shook has played so far this split, there has been no Talia games, as far as I can tell.
No, there haven't been.
Kindred is still available. I'm sure that he's more than happy to pick that one up for himself. He was kind of expecting the Talia to go on to the other side, so maybe he's still fine into this matchup. Gragas still has a lot of flexibility, but right now Giants could also be looking at the funnel Xayah strategy, something you've always got to bear in mind. But it also feels like a big denial away from Sheriff and Promisq, where when they kind of need a go-to bot lane to go for, it does feel like Xayah and Rakan are that.
Yeah, I think Xayah Rakan is just a really strong bot lane for Sheriff and Promisq in terms of what they played last split, what they've been able to play regularly this split as well. They will get the Braum instead on the side of H2K, and now Giants, Betsy hovering over the Azir, perhaps some bad memories there for H2K, but hasn't got the Zoe, instead is going to go for the Irelia.
All right, Irelia. We saw what Caps was able to do in this matchup yesterday. I'm sure Betsy would love to have the same level of performance. And depending on
I'm sure he'd love to have the same level of skill as well.
I'm sure he would. Both mid laners... sorry, this matchup, depending on which mid laner you speak to, will tell you very different things about the matchup. Some believe that Zoe is perfectly fine into this matchup, largely in the early game, because Irelia can't really match your push. She gets chunked out a lot by a lot of the CC that Zoe's able to land, and landing that E on the side of Zoe is very easy. But once she gets the Sheen, she has a lot of kill pressure on the side of the Irelia, and that's when the matchup can start to swing, unless you're able to put a little bit more focus around that lane in the early game. And when you have Zoe Kindred, it's a lane that you can definitely look to play around if you're H2K.
H2K with the possibility of playing around mid, get rid of the Xayah Rakan combo on the side of Giants. Janna taken away by Giants themselves alongside the Draven.
What?
Yeah, Janna's a very weird ban. Haven't seen Promisq play that at all. Usually goes for things like the Tarm Kench, the Fiddlesticks, the Morgana there as well. So he already has the Braum. Maybe it's a funnel Braum.
Wondering if this is something that they've seen in scrims and they don't want to have to deal with. Maybe it's a new, unique mid lane pick or something, but when you see Kindred and when you see Braum, I don't immediately think that there's going to be any kind of funnel. Like, you've got a Zoe in there as well, so the Janna ban, definitely surprising. The side of H2K, their bans are a little bit more expected. Giants will be looking to take away the Lucian from Sheriff so that they don't have that Lucian Braum bot lane. That makes sense. And now the only thing that they're kind of missing is their jungler, unless they're looking to put the Gragas in the jungle, which of course they can always do.
A very real possibility. Lucian's the only champion that Steeelback has won on this split. 3 games, 2-1 on that across the course of summer. So he'll be pretty happy getting that 66% win rate at the moment, hoping to up that to 75 if he can. Ryze is the next pick here for H2K. Ryze in the bot lane is something we have seen.
Haven't seen it for a while though. Largely has been the Vladimir and the Swain that's primarily picked up, but with Ryze Braum, definitely a unique 2 versus 2 that you don't very often see. We'll see how that plays out into the Lucian during the laning phase. The only thing now they're missing is a top laner, and traditionally they go for a tank. Now immediately I can see that they're lacking a little bit of engage. They've got a pretty solid front line, their team fighting is pretty good. It's a little all over the shop in that Zoe has good poke and siege, whereas you've got kind of good skirmishing with Ryze and Kindred. There's kind of good scaling, but also good mid-game spikes. The comp kind of feels a little all over the shop. But the one thing you can say is that they're really good at finding picks. You have the Ryze ulti to move from lane to lane. You have good single target CC from champions like the Braum and the Zoe. And if they're able to land a single target like the Rune Prison or set up the slow from the Kindred, you have a lot of options to kind of lock down a target and then set up for that pick.
Giants, on the other hand, lock in the Gnar to round things out. It looks like it might be a funneled Irelia here with the Rakan sitting on Djoko. Has been switched in the end, so it's going to be Gragas in the jungle and Nukesalot taking the Rakan down towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, so this kind of more of what I expected. I feel like that Gragas does pretty well into this comp overall. The ability for it to disengage is pretty effective against the Kindred, the fact that you can knock them out of the ulti. Ryze has a fairly short range, so in these team fights you can knock him fairly easily into the midst of your team. And when you kind of look at the Giants' composition overall, it just feels a little bit more well-rounded. They have strong lanes kind of across the board. I feel like they have a decent matchup bot. You could argue they have a winning matchup in mid. They definitely have a winning matchup up top, which means that Djoko has many lanes that he can play around. And we do know that this jungler loves to get involved in a lot of early kills. So right now I'm kind of favoring what Giants have drafted for themselves. I think they have slightly clearer win conditions, and I think they have a very solid mid-game spike that they can look to utilize against H2K.
Yeah, we'd really like to see Djoko go up towards that top lane because we know Smittyj, when he starts falling behind, has a habit of overextending regularly and getting caught out quite often. And Mundo is one of those champions that if you put him behind, really struggles to have an impact on the game. So we'll keep our eyes on Djoko. We're going to jump on into the action once again. H2K and Giants, bottom of the table clash between these two guys. H2K still trying to find their first win of the split. Giants looking for their third.
Yep, we've had a couple teams in the history of the European LCS that have had very long losing streaks. Dragonborns was one of the first, Origin to name another.
Press F to pay respects.
Yep, H2K definitely do not want to join that club, especially after their very long legacy in the EU LCS, often being a top 4 team and even making it to semi-finals at Worlds.
Yeah. It was a very different lineup in those days, of course. Jankos, one of the key members of that team. I think 14 losses in a row is our current record.
Something around
Origin, I believe, hit that in the split that they got demoted.
But when you kind of look at it on paper, Giants would be the easiest target to find your first win against, given they are so close in the standings. Both teams have struggled during the regular season, and so for H2K, if they want to start the win streak, now is kind of time. We heard it from Perks on PGL yesterday. If it's going to happen, you kind of got to do it today.
And it's the little motivation boost you need to go into your next games, go into next week, and actually feel like you can challenge some of the other teams in the league. I mean, H2K next week have Roccat and Fnatic, so definitely games that are higher on that difficulty spectrum than someone like Giants. Looks like they might be going for a little bit of an invade here. Steeelback gets the ward in the bush and spots out Promisq and Shook. So H2K will know that this is happening.
Yep. I'm not... Did they see the ward?
I'm not sure, because they were out of the bush at the time. So I'm not sure they saw the ward. It's not really going to matter too much here, because Djoko's just going to go to this top side, but it would have been interesting if we'd seen, say, a counter fight in the Giants jungle.
Sorry, I had to burp there. I was just as you tossed it off to me, I pressed the cough button.
You could have just left silence and not told us about your foul bodily habits. Well, but having lived with you, I'm quite used to them now. I apologize to the audience.
I wanted to apologize to you. I didn't want you to think that
I
just didn't want you to think that I just left you hanging. You know, just be like, hey medic, I didn't like your point, so I'm just not gonna say anything.
Okay.
But what I will say is bot lane matchup, something that we don't normally see. Ryze Braum into Lucian Rakan. Kind of an odd mix and match of champions. Definitely not something that you regularly see, but the one thing that we can say for sure is that in the early levels, you kind of want to give the early damage output advantage to the Ryze and Braum in my head, assuming Braum can set the CC up initially. If he's able to land the passive, and then you can follow that up with a Ryze Rune Prison, you can definitely win out on a couple of these early skirmishes. But in terms of the range advantage and the amount of mobility that they have, you kind of have to give the edge to the Giants 2 versus 2. If Rakan can land that knockup, you have a lot of easy damage output coming out from the Lucian, and then because of the mobility of the Rakan, you can then just very quickly dash out and avoid being traded back upon. And we can already see that in terms of early pressure, Steeelback has been able to get that push, and right now they're the ones that control the 2 versus 2.
That they do, and we can see because of that, Djoko, sorry, not Djoko, we can see Shook going into the red side jungle of Giants, of Giants as well. No, wait, what on earth is going on in my head?
Right.
I keep thinking about that burp. It's really distracted me. Shook's going to be able to get his red buff. Djoko got his red buff up towards the top
they
side.
traded
sides of the map. That's exactly what I was going for there, Vedius.
Right.
Thanks for bringing me back on track.
No problem, mate. We've also got to look at the top side. Gnar, really strong matchup into the Mundo. Mundo just kind of sucks early game. Typically, he's safe because he can farm from range, but prior to his first item, like Balmy Cinder, especially Sunfire Cape, he can't really do a lot, so you've just got to sit on the back foot and farm where you can, which means that Gnar can just keep pounding away at him, deny him farm, deny him resources, and remember that Mundo kind of has to expend his own health to use his abilities as well, so it means that when you have these range matchups, you often do struggle and you fall into these early deficits.
Yeah, and Ruin's most played champion in spring was the Gnar as well. 6 games on that with a 50% win rate. So very comfortable on this champ up towards the top side. I'm intrigued to see what he builds, just because we had the section in Ready Check where he talked about the Gnar build with Ginsu's Rage Blade and Black Cleaver. It is a possibility, but I wonder if it would be... Is it though? I think if you purely want to split push, it could actually work, because you can trade really effectively into a Mundo in that split push if you have the Ginsu's and the Black Cleaver. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I don't think you need it. I think you can go like Frozen Mallet, and that's way better. But
way better.
Way better.
But now, extra stacks, Vedius.
It's all about the stacks, man.
Of the stacks.
Yeah, all right. I'm sold. That's it.
There we go. And we have an allotment of at least one Ginsu's item per game across the course of the split. So at the start we were good because we had lots of Ginsu's items starting to die down, so we're getting them on these different champions.
Everyone feels the need to get them now. Now, Giants is aware what is going on. Both supports lying in wait.
Teleport coming in here as well from Ruin, going to try and start up this fight. He joins the fray. There's first blood already for Giants. Smittyj's joined it as well, though, and he's at full HP. Ruin going to jump away. Betsy off towards the top side of the fight, and Giants will be able to keep their jungle safe. H2K maybe want a little bit more as Promisq steps forward, but don't think he's going to be able to find too much.
So a lot of TPs were used in that early exchange. Everyone kind of got involved because they wanted to find that early first kill, but it ends up going over to Giants because they had that vision down. They saw what Shook was trying to do, and it was easier for them to set up the play, given that Djoko was able to use his CC, followed up by Sanuxalot. So they end up finding first blood in the bot side. Smittyj and Ruin now no longer have their teleports to help them with the laning phase or get involved in any more fights. Shook has spotted out Djoko and will immediately steal away the scuttle, so Djoko walks away as a sad man.
It didn't have his smite, so he wasn't able to take that for himself. We'll have another look at that fight because it was just a lot of teleports burned very quickly. So the supports standing, facing each other.
They actually knew there was a ward there on the mini-map. They were pinging that Giants could see them. And Shook, I guess, realized a little too late. Sheriff did try to come up to offer support. And while Ruin nearly got killed, because he had the flash and he had Nuxalot and Steeelback standing in front of him, H2K weren't able to find themselves a return kill. So rather unfortunate for H2K. Just surprised that Shook decided to stay so long when it does seem that they knew what was going on.
Well, Betsy going for the trade here. Cleanses away the sleep as well, and Selfie has to flash. Great trade from Betsy on that Irelia into the Zoe.
Yeah, utilizing the level 6 mark, where you can just kind of go all in against the Zoe. When she hit level 6, she doesn't really have a lot. If anything, it just locks her in to get stunned by Irelia. And so, with the Corrupting Potion and Doran's Blade, Betsy gets very close to securing a kill, but he wasn't able to find another Q proc, which meant that he couldn't actually secure the kill in the end. Now, Selfie's still hanging around. He's fine for the time being because Djoko is topside, but I feel like he's just wasting a little bit of time. This will allow Betsy to clear another wave, even the cannon wave that Selfie will now unfortunately lose.
Yeah, but Shook gets it, so he's happy.
Yeah, that's the bright side.
Jungle attacks as he comes in, just like, oh, no, you stay, push that next wave. I'll hit level 6 off the cannon that you're going to abandon. Shook will just hold it for the moment. Probably have to take the cannon away from Selfie, as you say.
He's just like, oh no, it's so low. Oh,
it looks like he's actually going to do the really nice thing and pull it across here. Keep it out. Oh, no.
If no one gets the cannon...
It goes back out of tower range, though.
To Selfie. This is all that matters right now.
Oh! It gets it!
All right, so he secures the cannon. That's the most crucial thing in this matchup. Losing cannon would have been dire, but his confidence, his morale has now been restored.
It was very close, though.
Great jungler there from Shook. I've never seen a jungler do that. Ever. If anything, my support would have come mid and stolen it.
Yeah, I mean, that's because I'm usually
yeah, I know, right? Even gives Selfie over the blue buff. He did end up losing his flash. Now we see Djoko and Nukeslot hang around the mid lane, and they actually want to look to steal away the red buff. Now remember, Shook spent so much time mid and then went towards the top side. The Giants have full knowledge that this red buff is likely not being started, and so they're setting up a bit of deep vision, looking for a potential pick.
Yeah, Betsy coming in here as well to get those wards in. Total control of the red side jungle, but Shook is on his way. And it looks like Giants won't actually go for the red buff yet. They will spot out Shook as he walks into his own jungle. His Djoko from the side, the knockback. Not going to be able to get too much more out of that.
Yeah, so they tried to set up a play on Selfie, take advantage of the fact that he didn't have his flash. Couldn't quite pull it off. Just a couple of ultis were used. So for the time being, the map kind of resets. Giants do have their eyes set around the dragon area. They will look to take the Scuttle Crab to gain some vision around this objective. But yeah, there we are. Game kind of resetting to normal. Top lane still, I mean, it's closer than arguably it should be. Smittyj doing a pretty good job of not falling too far behind the Gnar. And gold still relatively even, only the first blood really being the differentiator.
As soon as the portal is used, you can see Djoko comes in straight for the gank here. The sleep lands, but it's enough from Betsy to get the kill. Flashes away from Shook. Knew he was going to take that final tower shot. Great play from Giants.
Yeah, so Giants end up finding themselves another kill. Finally able to take advantage of the fact that Selfie did not have his flash available to him. And Giants now leading in the kill score. Shook just left to clear up some of the leftover farm.
Almost 1,000 gold lead for Giants, coming up towards the 10-minute mark. And as the game resets, Vedius, I want to talk to you about something. Because I've been thinking about something for quite a while recently.
Yeah.
And it kind of plagues my waking thoughts.
Okay.
Am I a weeb?
Well, a little.
How? But I've always tried to avoid it. I've started watching anime recently. I watched Boku no Hero.
Yes.
And I watched Attack on Titan.
Right.
But is that actually really weeby behavior, or am I just a connoisseur of good cinema?
All right, do you have a body pillow?
I do not. Apart from the one of you.
Do you want a body pillow?
No.
I mean,
although that would actually be very comfortable.
Right?
I don't want one with a picture of anything. I just want a pillow as big as me.
I mean, I feel like you do have a favorite character in Boku no Hero.
Everyone has a favorite character in Boku no Hero.
And you would want that person on a body pillow.
I don't think I would.
I think you would. And if you do, that kind of makes you a weeb.
Okay. Maybe. We'll come back to that discussion perhaps later on. But let's get back on into the action tower. Quite low in the top lane from Ruin there. He's got a bit of a CS advantage, but nothing too major. Jump in from Betsy. Cleanse straight away. Shook still on the chase here, the paddle star. Gets him down to about half, but Betsy still able to keep himself safe in that mid lane.
Yeah, so he ends up forcing the cleanse out from Betsy. He's constantly looking to try and get some advantageous trades up against Selfie, and as a result, it means that if the jungler just hangs around, he can look to punish him. Unfortunately, no kill resulted, but if Shook makes his way back towards the mid lane, he should be able to find something. But Djoko is now the one hanging around, and he wants to try and shut Selfie down.
Can he do it though? Selfie still has the portal jump. Gonna jump back towards it. The sleep connects there. Double TP used as well. Explosive cast, but here's Promisq. Smittyj the first to join the fray. Djoko doesn't quite get stunned up, eventually does. You can see Promisq in the midst of it all is doing quite a bit of damage here. Betsy, though, jumping around. The Lamb's Respite keeps Promisq alive for the moment, but will also keep Betsy and Ruin now with the stun into the wall. That's a great fight from Giants. 2 kills to them.
Yeah, massive team fight win in favor of Giants. They extend the early kill lead to 4-0, while their bot lane continues to push. Promisq did go up to try and help out the rest of his team, but unfortunately, even with a numbers advantage, it was not enough. And now Giants have propelled this into a 3,000 gold lead. Djoko is the one that starts off this play. He gets him behind Selfie, and they kind of mess up their CC combo, so they're not able to quite lock down Selfie, and immediately they're forced to disengage because they realize, okay, this isn't a great setup for us. We're not the ones starting this fight, but then Betsy sees an opportunity to turn around. Ruin's Rage Bar is starting to build, but unfortunately, because Smittyj used his Zhonya's to buy enough time, Selfie doesn't really have a huge amount of damage output at this point. Promisq ends up getting really low, and then Shook just gets knocked out of his own ulti, which allows Giants to just slowly but surely pick off each target one by one. 2-0-1 now for Betsy, and Giants sitting at a very healthy lead.
Yeah, 2-0-1 for Ruin in that top lane as well, and about a 15 CS advantage for Steeelback down towards that bottom side. A lane we haven't really looked at that much because not much has happened down there. It's been more about how the supports have roamed up. Gives himself about a 700 gold lead. You'll take that if you are the Lucian in this matchup. 12 minutes in, a 2,000 gold lead for Giants and a very good early start.
Yeah, you can see a very huge advantage going in favor of Ruin.
Very huge.
Very huge. My use of English is struggling, my friend. I am Welsh. Ooh, good engage.
That's what you want to do if you're Rakan. Goodbye, Shook. That's why I play Rakan.
I mean, yeah, the playmaking potential is pretty significant for him. They do find another pick onto Shook. 0-3-0 right now. Not quite having the early game impact that I'm sure he would have liked. And the gold lead still staying at around the same, but it will result in a dragon going in favor of Giants.
Still no first tower for them, but you feel it's just a waiting game for them now. Irelia scaling up, building up towards that Trinity Force. You've got Blade of the Ruin King coming out on Steeelback and maybe on Ruin up towards that top side as well. Sitting on the Bilgewater Cutlass and the recurve bow. Got himself an early Executioner's Calling to stop the Mundo from healing up too much, but Blade of the Ruin King into Mundo feels like a good itemization choice.
Just split push build, very much about the 1v1. You are that range champion.
Ginsu's next.
I think you're pretty ambitious in thinking that he will go for it.
Double the on hits.
I agree with you, man. I can see the logic. I understand. But Ruin, maybe he's not about the 6-stack thing, you know? He's about, ooh, I need utility. Better build a Frozen Mallet. You know, so we'll see how he goes. Right now he has a very healthy lead. H2K actually have priority on the Rift Tile. This surprises me a little bit, but it's because they did swap their bot side up towards the top. Likely that they will end up losing a tower as a result. Unless Djoko can get a steal. He is hanging around the objective right now. He does have vision on it too.
The eye won't open now as well because it's underneath 2,000 HP, so Djoko might look for the steal. Has a level advantage over Shook. Explosive cast, the smites come out, but it's Shook who secures it and Promisq who picks it up for his team. Djoko has to flash the wall. Tower does go down in the bottom lane.
Yeah, miscalculates the damage a little bit there, Djoko. You can see that he tried to go for a burst combo, but unfortunately there was still about 100 HP left on the Rift Herald, which means that it walks away. Well, I mean, it doesn't walk away. It ends up getting picked up by H2K.
It will walk away later, though.
It will.
When they put it down.
H2K will be the ones to control it. But likely they'll use it to try and take a mid-tier one. But in the meantime, Giants are the ones that get themselves the first tower advantage. Now heading up towards the top side, let's see if they can set up a successful siege.
And Giants, as we crest the 15-minute mark, have their largest gold lead at 15. This entire split, about 4,000 gold ahead. Looks like 3,900 or so. Definitely take that if you're Giants, and you've shut down Shook in the early game, you've shut down Selfie, you have a big Irelia, you've got a Lucian who's scaling up, and a big Gnar up towards that top side, and in a very, very good position.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if I was Giants right now.
No, he plays for Schalke.
God damn it. Yes, he does. It also can be used in other contexts. It's like, I would be happy right now if I was a Giants member, because I have a pretty healthy gold lead. I have pretty much control over the side lanes, given that right now my 2v2 is stronger, my Gnar is that much stronger than the Mundo, I have a very fed Irelia, and now you just kind of want to start looking for opportunities to force fights. Maybe once the Trinity Force is completed for Betsy, they'll feel a little better about it. But yeah, right now, everything going in favor of Giants. For H2K, if they want to find a way back in, you're kind of looking at members like the Ryze. The scaling aspect is still very pivotal. We talked about that pick potential with things like the Zoe, the Ryze, the Braum combo. If you land that single CC, it's very easy to lock and chase someone down. But finding that opportunity is always the challenging part, especially when there's so much mobility and disengage on the side of Giants.
As a support main Vedius, I'm going to just focus on this Rakan build just for a moment, because it talks about the disengage and the engage potential. This is not your traditional Rakan build. You can go for the Nomad's Medallion, and you can go for the Boots of Mobility. I'm not saying it's a bad build. What we tend to see is the cooldown boots and the Frostfang for the extra damage in the lane and for the ability to get your ultimate off cooldown a little bit more quickly. I like it in this lane because he's never going to play in the lane. He's much more about roaming around. You can't really play into the Ryze because he'll lock you down too much. And I like the Irelia's first from him as well, because it gives him that extra engage potential and gives Djoko the ability to get onto the backline. What I really want to see from him next is a QSS, because as soon as he gets locked down by the Ryze in a fight, or as soon as he gets hit by Sleepy Trouble Bubble, you lose all threat from the Rakan. So if you get a QSS, you can make yourself a little bit more threatening, and even if you get caught in 1 CC, you can still get the engage off for your team.
But not if he always CCs the Ryze first.
I mean, that's true, but Ryze's is a point and click. Rakan's is basically a point and click. I pretend that I'm mechanically good, but all I do is press flash and then WR someone.
And you're taunting at the same time.
Indeed.
So, well, I agree with you. I think that a QSS is never a bad thing to have, especially against champions like a Zoe. But for the time being, I don't think that's going to be his most... Press the word. Precedent, yes. It's
Pressing
important.
item, the most important item.
It's not going to be something he can build right now.
Okay.
Betsy, though, ooh, good stun. No, it doesn't decide to go for it. Does have the cleanse. Trinity Force. Right, Giants, go kill things now. You're really strong. This is where in team comms you go, hey, team, I'm really fed. Let's fight. And that's kind of what I'm expecting to see. Djoko takes little to no damage from Selfie because of all the magic resistance that he's built up for himself. And so, yeah, Giants, go kill stuff.
So where are you going to kill stuff, though? I think that's the question, because at the moment, Ruin is getting free damage onto this bottom lane tower. Why do you need to force a fight somewhere else?
I mean, like, just because of the advantage that you have, you can just snowball it even more. Sheriff is a good target.
Right, Sheriff is a very good target. Flashes away from the explosive cast, but also from his realm warp. He will get caught out with the final barrel. Steeelback flashes forward. One more auto is enough for him. Rift Herald was used towards the mid lane as well. Betsy's going to try and chunk out that eye just to try and reduce some of the damage that comes out from the Rift Herald. We'll get one charge in, but reduce damage. She's already taken a little bit of damage herself.
Yeah, so you're right in that you don't need to force something, but I feel like that when you have a 4,000 gold lead at 15, 16, 17 minutes, and you have such a healthy item lead, that there's no reason not to force things, especially when you know that H2K are weaker at this point in the game, especially we just saw the Ryze, no flash. Ruin now getting caught out.
Ruin jumps straight into the face of Promisq. He's going to use the blast cone to get himself away, and the flash, but Promisq flashes forward, gets the stun, Winter's Bite, and Shook just needs one more dance of arrows to get him. He's not out, Vedius.
Yeah, I forgot about the Shook W into the Q. That allowed him to close the gap, and now Giants are on the collapse.
This is how you force a fight. If Shook overextends behind your tower, you can chase him. He flashes, though, and will get himself to safety. Promisq gets away as well, so good stuff from H2K to escape what was a very sticky situation.
They get their first kill on the board. Ruin takes a non-optimal path and ends up getting collapsed upon by H2K. We should get a replay of the top lane fight where Sheriff... right now he thinks he's fine because he sees the bot lane backing and he thinks, okay, there's nothing I really have to worry about. I have a control ward here as well. I can just take the safe route down towards the south. But, aha, there's Djoko, and now the enemy AD carries TP'd back in. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, one could say. And then Sheriff ends up... I don't know if Steeelback needed to flash there, but I guess with Braum running up the river, probably just the safest to secure the kill. And Giants get themselves an Infernal Drake off the back of that as well.
Yeah, and with it, that 4,000 gold lead we were talking about, it looks like it is going to be Black Cleaver second for Ruin. Third item, Ginsu's Rageblade, obviously, Vedius, as you always do on the Gnar.
Right.
But H2K, they're just going to go straight for this barrel.
Right, so they were pings already, yeah. Giants, are they aware? I feel like they should be aware.
There we go. There's a Scryer's Bloom for him. There we go. They know it's happening.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that was just Senuxlot being like, could they be on Baron? Just a bit of a casual check, just wanders over being like, I'll just have a quick look. Because the rest of the team was definitely not in a, they're doing Baron, let's panic mode. They were just like, yeah, we can just keep farming, we're fine. So good awareness there from Senuxlot to spot that one out, because that could have been a sneaky Baron secured by H2K.
In fact, they can 3-man it as well, is always a risk for Giants if they cannot spot out H2K, who are still not out of this game at all. 4,000 gold behind at the 21-minute mark is a substantial deficit, but not one that you can't carry yourself out of. We're starting to see 1.5 items completed. Lichbane, Seraph's Embrace, you've got the Blood Razor Skirmisher Saber for Shook as well, building up towards a Black Cleaver of his own. It's that tank killer build we've talked about in the past.
I mean, my issue is for H2K that I'm not fully aligned on the goal or the clear win condition of their composition. Ooh, Sheriff.
The issue for Sheriff is that at the moment Betsy's sitting right on his face, and he's going to pop the stopwatch, but that's not going to keep yourself alive for that long. Nope. Betsy gets another kill.
Didn't have flash from the earlier collapse on top. They're able to find a successful pick, and this is kind of the thing that H2K want to be doing, but because they fell behind in the early game, the fact that they ended up losing mid so significantly, they lost bot tower as well, means that they don't have control of the map, so it's really difficult for them to actually find picks and really get Shook or Selfie into a position where they can carry, whereas Giants, they can just keep grouping, they're happy to force fights, and they're now pushing onto an inhibitor tower on top.
H2K are giving up this inhibitor tower. Promisq's looking for a flank, so there's a possibility H2K just want to force a fight, but this is very dangerous for them. They give up an inhibitor tower, teleport comes in straight away. Promisq there, Nukeslot can dodge around. with the battle dance. 4 against 3 in favor of H2K. Need to land the sleep though. Paddle doesn't connect. The root does cleanse away. There's the Drowsy as well, and Betsy will be sacrificed here for Giants. H2K able to collapse, but had to give up an inhibitor tower to do so.
Now they've gotten a single kill. Djoko does still have his ulti, but I feel like H2K are going to look to go for Baron. Ruin is on the side. They want to at the very least get a TP out from Ruin so that they can turn this kill into something. But with Djoko hanging around, going for this is very risky.
I'm so worried if I'm H2K because Nuxalot still has the ultimate. Promisq gets the Fisher onto Steeelback. Nuxalot dodging around. There's the 3-man knockup with the ultimate, and he's right out of there as well. Ruin cancelled his TP. Realm Warp use here, trying to chase onto Steeelback. Explosive cast. Steeelback dodges back towards him. He tried. Djoko tried his hardest, but couldn't save his AD carry.
That's an oopsie. Djoko ulties the enemy team into Steeelback. That's where if I was Djoko, I would definitely put the Ash emote above my head. Was that me?
I'd question mark Pink Steeelback. Yeah. Like, mate, what are you doing? Your positioning's awful. Come on.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I mean, the bright side for Giants is that they didn't lose the Baron. That tier 3 tower in the bot lane got very low as well because Ruin did cancel his TP and was able to chunk that out pretty significantly. But for H2K, they're able to find a couple of extra picks. They're now 3 and 7. The goal gap's still pretty significant though, so they're going to have to keep finding these picks if they want to stand a chance of coming back into this game.
Yeah, it's actually extended throughout the course of that little foray. 6,000 gold now the lead for Giants. Let's have another look at this Baron fight.
So here we can see that Promisq is sitting off on the flank looking to try and lock down Steeelback. He doesn't have a cleanse or QSS to get out of the chain CC that is coming towards him. Here's the Realm Warp, hoping we get it. Oh, there it is. That's unfortunate. You can see he wanted to like knock them away, but instead they ended up just getting knocked on top of him. And then Steeelback was just like, why?
I'm still not sure Steeelback would have escaped because his flash wasn't up at the time.
Maybe
he only had the E.
Djoko just increased the speed. He's like, you're dying
like,
anyway.
Mate, you're dying. Just respawn quicker. Come on, we want you back. We want you back for that next fight. Gold lead is sitting at that 6,000 to 7,000 mark at the moment, though, and Giants have just been able to slowly extend this lead. Maybe not as proactive as we would have liked them to be, but still finding advantages where they can. Looks like Nuxalot is going towards that No Magic Man QSS next. However, it could also be a Zeke's Convergence.
Oh.
It could be a Banshee's Veil. I prefer
I mean, if you're going to keep telling me this Ruin is going to build a Rage Blade, I think I can throw out wild assumptions too.
I don't think I've ever seen a Rakan build Banshee's Veil apart from mid-Rakan, though.
Oh, okay.
At least we've seen someone build a Rage Blade before. Steeelback onto Selfie. Promisq nice comes in with the wall, but that's a lot of damage, as you say, and Selfie's going to be forced to go back. Had the flash as well. Lands the trouble bubble across the wall. Paddlestar will not follow it up.
So now with that chunk out onto Selfie, Giants have priority over mid. Ideally, they want to take this tower down and then secure a little bit more vision around the river so they can start to set up around the Baron. Ruin is in a potential 2 versus 1. He has the awareness to recognize that this Kindred is hanging around. Also important to note that it looks like that tier 3 bot tower has regained some of its health. So not as low and not as easy to secure for Ruin as it would have been earlier on. So Giants now just sitting around the river, setting up the Baron and saying, come H2K, check the Baron buff. It's safe. Surprise, it's Giants.
Irelia's Nuxalot misses the charm though, and he's just gone. You cannot do that as Rakan. Betsy tries to jump onto Shook on the backline as well. Steeelback getting chased out by Smittyj. Shook pokes down the Lamb's respite, but that's one gone already, and Betsy is the next to follow. H2K find the fight they need, and they're turning straight towards the Baron.
Terrible fight for Giants, but a big win for H2K at a 6,000 gold deficit. They have 5 members that can look to take down the Baron. Smittyj can go back to base. He can try and keep the inhibitor alive, but that was disaster for Giants, as now H2K find an answer back into this game.
And perhaps an answer back into this split as well. 0-9, remember, looking for their first win on the board.
Ruin gonna die.
Ruin is gonna die, but he'll probably get the inhibitor first. Yeah, that's what he's going to do. Smittyj still on the chase, and here comes Sheriff as well with that home guard buff. You can see Promisq coming down from the mid lane as well.
Uh-oh.
Winter's Bite into that. Oh.
Oh, no!
Oh, Djoko gets spotted out.
TP's coming in, though.
TP is coming in, and they're going to try and turn this one around. Might just use the TP to distract H2K for the moment. Steeelback in with the culling. Rakan on his way as well. Nuxalot doesn't have the quickness,
They're going for the fight.
They're going to turn it back onto Ruin. Steeelback rooted up, locked up. That's one. Nuxalot jumps into the midst of it all, and Smittyj there as well. 1-for-1 now in this bottom lane.
So that was a weird fight.
Yeah, it was very weird.
But they end up trading 1-for-1. H2K end up losing a Baron member, but Giants had to use a TP and 2 flashes in order to just get that kind of an outcome. So not the end of the world. The inhibitor did end up going down in favor of Giants. So all kind of things straight across the board. Giants also going to secure themselves their 3rd Drake of the game. The gold is now a little bit closer. Giants still maintain firm control, but H2K will look to group up and siege down mid now they have a Baron buff on their side.
Yeah, and there's so much standing gold for them in terms of these towers as well. Only 1 tower taken by them to 7 from Giants, so there's a lot of gold they can just pick off the map if they're able to take out a few of those turrets. Let's have another look at this mid lane fight, because it's not what you want to do as Rakan.
No, that was awful from Selfie. He missed everyone that he wanted to kind of lock down, which means that Betsy ends up in a 1v1 against Shook, which he ends up losing because he realizes if he stays in this any longer, the enemy team is all going to collapse on him, and that's ended up happening. Smittyj on the backside ended up getting himself a 1 versus 1 against Steeelback, who tried his best, but unfortunately Mundo is, funnily enough, a really good duelist. And especially when you have the Bramble Vest too, it can be rather challenging for an AD carry to take you down. So overall, good fight from H2K, but a lot of it was just bad execution from the side of Giants.
Nukeslot coming in with the Aurelias once again, has the quickness, looking for Sheriff and Promisq. There we go, that's what you want. Double knockup, double charm, the chase continues. Ruin with the wallop onto Promisq, stuns him up. Great double knockback as the TP comes in. Smittyj there as well. Betsy jumps onto the backline, 1v1 versus Shook. Instead goes for Sheriff, and he will be removed from Summoner's Rift. And now Giants can just pick off members at their leisure. Smittyj running just around the corner to see if he can catch out Djoko, but Giants can continue to chase it if they want.
Not sure what... Oh, yeah, okay, so Nukeslot ended up using this flash in the engagement, I believe. I was convinced that he just randomly used this flash at the end of the fight. But regardless, big team fight win once again for the side of Giants. Sitting at about a 6,000 gold lead now. Even though H2K had the Baron buff, they weren't able to find anything off the back of it. And Giants knew that they were stronger, they could force this fight, and there are only 3 members down towards the bot side. Yes, Smittyj did have his TP, there's the flash that I was just talking about, and they knew that, hey, with a numbers advantage, even if they have Baron, we don't have to worry. Good ulti there from Ruin to even knock Smittyj into the wall, limit his impact in this fight at the beginning, and then you have this duo of Betsy and Ruin diving onto the 2 carries. Selfie is way too late to the fight. He can't really impact it in any way, and Giants find themselves 2 quick quills, and now this Baron is effectively, well, redundant.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Baron buff bonus gold was. The power play. Shook not in the best of positions here, but he will be able to jump over that wall. Betsy was coming down in case he went for the Baron once again. Baron buff expires exactly on the 30-minute mark, and Giants still have a 6,000 gold lead or so. If you're H2K, you're wondering how you get back into this game, because the only reason Giants lost the initial fight was because Nukeslot totally whiffed his ultimate. Maybe you're relying on mistakes from Giants to really be able to win out any of these fights. Maybe you're relying just on a pick or a catch from Selfie as well.
I mean, again, so like H2K's comp don't actually have any engage. Like standard engage is probably an easy way to say it, because when you think of Rakan, Gragas, they have abilities that help them start fights. You could start a fight by having Smittyj flank, you can have a Ryze ulti coming from behind, you can have Braum jump to a minion or the Mundo and then use his ulti to start a fight, but none of it is easy setup, none of it is really, like, you need other factors to come into play to find that kind of an engagement, which makes it's just easier for Giants to start fights, and when you're this much further ahead, it's easy to kind of control and dictate the pace of the game. So for H2K, they're just waiting for Giants to make these mistakes, these missteps, so they can then look to capitalize upon, because again, their comp is just, it's a little bit all over the shop. They have decent scaling with the Ryze and Zoes. Both these champions scale well. Kindred, given that she is an AD carry, will also scale well, and Mundo as a tank always has value in the late game. Sure, this composition scales well, but when you kind of compare it across to the side of Giants, the Gragas ultimate just kind of spreads everyone apart, so you can really mitigate the amount of damage output that Shook is able to throw out. Sheriff cannot really deal with the amount of damage that Betsy and Steeelback can throw out, especially with how easy it is for them to dive onto him when he doesn't have his flash available. And Promisq can't provide peel for all these members. So Smittyj is diving onto the backline trying to deal with Steeelback and kill him, but the H2K members are dying just that much faster than the Giant squad is. So I find it really difficult for H2K to find avenues back into the game outside of Giants making big misplays like they did around that mid-fight and around the Baron, which they can do. We've seen them do it, but right now it's very challenging for H2K.
Totally agree with you, and Giants realize that. They set up vision control, they push towards these inhibitor towers. Inhibitor in the bottom lane has respawned, which means the push for Smittyj is a little bit stronger down towards that bottom lane, but Ruin is still very much favoured in that matchup. He's picked himself up an adaptive helm as well to try and reduce some of the damage coming out from the cleavers from the Mundo.
Ooh, Ruin, is he in trouble?
He is in a little bit of trouble, Vedius. This Shook catches him out up here. It's already gone out of the Mega. Yeah, that stopwatch. The only gold you're getting is perhaps some funeral gold.
Do you remember that mistake I was talking about?
Yeah, like that sort of thing.
That's exactly that sort of thing. Ruin ends up going through the enemy jungle rather than through his lane, which he didn't have full vision control of, and H2K find a very easy pick. Now, he will respawn just as Baron spawns, and he does have teleport, but... Alright, let's have a look here. So, Ruin ends up getting flanked spawn bot. So for a start, he's super overextending when he doesn't have pressure anywhere else on the map. He then tries to run up through the jungle because his escape route gets cut off, and then he dies. So that was a really big mistake from Ruin, and now it is H2K, the ones that are regaining pressure around Baron. So this is kind of what they needed. They needed that slip up from the side of Giants, and now they can be the ones to get control around the Baron area. They can be the ones to better set up for things like picks. And again, their comp does scale well, so they will be doing a decent amount of damage, and if they are able to lock a single target down, they can kill them pretty quickly.
Yeah. And they have been able to get some deep vision into the Giants jungle here as well. That's what you want to see from H2K. Still haven't taken a tier 1 in either of the side lanes though. Djoko steps a little bit forward as Smittyj does have the flank. You talked about the possibility of him engaging from a flank position. He's the only level 18 in the game as well, so has been able to farm himself up on that Mundo. Baron started here by H2K. Ruin is down towards the bottom lane. Teleport used straight away. And down to about 9,000 HP. The sleep connects only onto Djoko, and H2K fighting for the first win in their split, but the 3-man knockup into the game engaged in knockout from the Lamb's Respite. However, still H2K alive for the moment, but falling very, very rapidly. Betsy's on the back line. He'll catch out Sheriff. Another kill. The knockback into the wall as well, and Giants find the perfect team fight at Baron. Smittyj fighting for his life, but won't survive much longer. 4-for-1 in favor of Giants.
Great team fight there from Giants. So Nukesalot saw all of H2K clumping up, and that was the perfect moment to start the fight, win the fight, and Giants reclaim setup around the mid lane. They have the right set on this inhibitor. Betsy was huge, and with those death timers, I don't think they can look to end the game right now, or do they just commit to it?
Oh, but in the fight at the bottom of the table, Giants are the ones coming out on top. They're committing for it. They want their third win of the split. First Nexus tower goes down. 10 seconds left on anyone from H2K. Giants with a decisive team fight around the Baron will take the win on the back of Sir Nukesalot's engage.
Bit of a messy game overall. Giants definitely did throw a couple of times, but they were able to find the important fights when it mattered. They definitely had a good couple of engages, a lot of it off the back of Sir Nukesalot. He found that good fight down bot lane, he found that big fight around the Baron, and Giants find themselves another win. They now hold the 2-0 over H2K, who so far this split are yet to find themselves a win, dropping down to 0 and 10.
You've got to give credit to the key members on Giants as well. Djoko and Betsy stepped up. Betsy going 6-2-4 on the Irelia, capitalizing on that back line, and alongside that, Djoko 1-0-12, didn't die on the Gragas, had some great explosive casks when needed. Some more questionable. Yeah, I'm sure Steeelback will be talking to him firmly after this game. Yep,
but yeah, a lot of credit to Betsy. Feel like he played the Irelia pretty well. Enjoyed his team fighting, felt like his target focus was very good. At the very end there, I thought he was going to die, but the way in which he used the stun right up against the wall really benefited him a lot and allowed him to stay alive that extra bit longer. You can see that Gnar's damage numbers are pretty high, but that's just because he spent so much time sitting in the side lane, being a nuisance for Smittyj. Yes, his presence on the side lane was impactful in some ways, but really it was all about Betsy and his ability to swing a lot of those team fights in the favor of Giants.
Great stuff from him all around. I do want to give credit to Ruin. He hit some very good ultimates in some of the team fights. We're going to have a look at some of the replays from that game. And you can see here, like early on, H2K may have had a chance, but Ruin, once again, just positioned so well in this fight.
Yeah, I think a lot of it relied on Djoko helping Selfie find a lot of early kills. Unfortunately, they weren't quite able to pull it off, and Betsy, again, on this Irelia, was able to find the outplay pretty often. He was 2-0-1 pretty early into the game. Same for Ruin, and when you have priority over mid and top, it becomes very easy. And this was kind of that final team fight. Huge charm, big knockback, everyone outside of the Kindred ult. Steeelback Positioning, not the best. Got a little bit too close to Shook that allowed him to get the kill, but at the same time, Shook then put himself in a compromising position that allowed Giants to swing this in their favor. And Betsy ended up not dying at the very end. They end up finding 4 kills to 1, and rather than go for the Baron, they just end the game.
Closing it out pretty decisively in the end. We'll want to work on their mid-game a little bit. A few times when we said they're ahead, they've got the 2-item spike. Maybe they should be a bit more proactive, but overall, they'll be pretty happy with that performance. H2K on the other side, I don't really know what to say for them at the moment. 0-10 on their way to the 0-14 possibly of Origin, maybe even going to
that schedule only gets harder from here. They went up against Giants, who is the 9th place team in Europe right now. And so it will certainly be a challenge. They're going to have to find a big upswing if they still want to be in contention for playoffs. They haven't been locked out just yet. No. But it is, as we said at the very beginning of the cast, a tough road to climb. It
definitely is. Remember to share your vote for player of the game at LoL Esports. The options are Ruin, Djoko, or Betsy. Like, we've talked about Djoko and Betsy, but the more I think about it, the more I want to give it to Sanuxalot.
Sanuxalot?
I mean, I know he's not on the vote, but I think we should do #make supports great again. We did talk about it yesterday. His Rakan engages in this game were great.
Some of them were not.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to bait your team into a bad fight to remind them of how good you are.
Right.
I do that all the time in
solo queue. The
problem is they surrender straight afterwards. Coming up next is a rematch of third place decided between Vitality and Splyce, right after a chat with Djoko. Don't go anywhere.
Lying in wait.